Hello, Malik Harrington here, Family Budget Fisherman. Thank you for tuning in to this another special episode on this channel. Well, you read it in the thumbnail and in the description below. I'm going to be talking to you about my combination. I love this combination, the Shimano Zodias Rod, which is paired with the Shimano Vanford. This is the 2021 version of this rod, the current model. So let's talk about it. Let's get started. Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to this very special episode. I wanted to say to you, I've been wanting to get these videos out, but as you know, between the excruciating heat really taxing my equipment, and then over the last 2 or 3 days, we've been dealing with, here in Northern California, we've been dealing with Hurricane Hillary, the top part of that tropical storm that's come into California through the south and ripping its way north throughout the northwest. So this is one of the first times I've actually got a chance to get out here and really do some videos. But I promise you this, throughout this month, you're going to get rod reviews like this. And then I'm going to start my rod guides next month, because there are a lot of sales that are going to start happening beginning in September, preparing for the fall and the winter sales for everything. You know, it's the fall and winter, buying season. So getting your stuff together. My peach tree is just dropping peaches over there. So sorry about that. So just get your money together, and hopefully these reviews will help you kind of hone in on which rods and reels you're looking for the fall and winter season. And so this is part of that effort. This is the Shimano Zodias 2021 version, and it is paired with the Shimano Vanford, which is an update from the CI4 series. There are a lot of CI4 components here, both in the rod and the reel. But as far as the reel is concerned, the Vanford became the new flagship for the CI4 model of reels. And I can tell you it has blown away its competition in that area. Now, I have to say, despite some of the challenges that the that the Daiwa Tatula MQ have, I know some have experienced little noises and stuff in there. That'll be dealt with. Daiwa may have a close competitor, but it's still the Vanford. Okay, it's still the Vanford. Hell, even my Shimano X Pride, when I cast, there's a clicking noise whenever I cast a bait that's heavier than 3/8 of an ounce, and I'm still trying to figure out where is the noise. Is it in the guide or is it in the butt section? So having said that, this is the new monocoque handle here, and it's an upgrade from the 2018 model, or I should say, I think this was the 17 model, 16 or 17 model. I picked these up in 2018. I bought 4 of them, and then in 2021 they were upgraded to this. As you can see the difference in the handles. You'll see a difference in the butt section there. There's some similarities, and then you have some aesthetic differences. You can see those there. Differences in the guides. If you can see the differences in the guides as well. Differences in the guides. So you got some differences there in the rods. Now, I have to say, it feels to me like they use the same blank, and I don't think that they would have needed to not use the same blank. But they use that same blank, and so some of the technology, like the X-Wrap, is still on there, and they brought down some of the technologies, of course, from the Shimano Poison Adrena. And added it to this model here. For example, that monocoque handle is part of it. This lock nut, I'm loving this lock nut. It's a little longer than the Shimano Zodias, the previous model, if you can see it there, along with the design. But I'm telling you, man, I never have to tighten this. I have never had to tighten this as a result of doing a lot of fishing. I've caught probably about 300 fish with this, and that's for this rod. That's probably a little low, but it's because I've had other rod reviews and I've been on the water with other rods that this hasn't gotten as much as it should have gotten. But this is a medium heavy as well. This is a medium, and lately I've been throwing a lot of mediums. I haven't been throwing as many medium heavies, but let me tell you, this rod performs where it bends is way down. I'm pulling back so you can see where it bends. Now, you know, when it's loaded, it bends down almost in the bottom third. I mean the top third. I mean bottom third there, as opposed to many of the fast action rods where they bend closer to the top third. And I think that little difference helps me when I'm out casting, say, reaction baits like square bills, spy baits, when I'm popping my tubes, which is now my favorite lure for this rod, when I'm out throwing poppers, and I can get a little bit bigger poppers thrown. I mean, this rod has a range, a lure range of 1/4 on the low end and 3/4 on the upper end. So it has the range. I can throw spinner baits, and I've thrown my share of spinner baits and caught fish with this. The only thing that I have thrown with this and I haven't caught fish, and maybe it was a patience thing with me, is throwing worms bigger than 7 inches. I've thrown those, and I just haven't been as successful. Texas rigs, I haven't been as successful on this as I probably should have been, and spoons to a lesser extent, because I have thrown spoons fishing for salmon, fishing deep for crappie, and fishing for smallmouth with spoons like Castmasters and so forth. I haven't been as successful as I've wanted to be. However, what I've caught most on here, tubes. Bottom line, I mean, the sensitivity for tubes is just incredible. Now, speaking of sensitivity, I know this monocoque handle is supposed to have increase the sensitivity of the rod. For me, that doesn't work, and it doesn't work. I hit my lure. I mean, hit my microphone there, because in order for me to get my forearm on that handle to experience that sensitivity through the rod blank, I have to have 3 fingers up, 1 finger down here, or more like this. But I want you to see ergonomically, it doesn't work for me, because as you can see here, I'm bending, and this right here is going to wear me out. I probably have 25 casts before I am exhausted on my arm here. And that applies on both sides. So for me, in terms of sensitivity, the monocoque handle doesn't seem to work as well. I can say aesthetically it's beautiful, and it may take some weight off of the rod. I may be experiencing more rod with this one because the handle is lighter than it is on the previous model, which may actually be the case. So now there's that. Now there is one other thing that I did notice, though. If you can see here, if I have this outright, I want you to notice that they push the reel seat up a little bit, and that much I can tell a difference, because when you push the reel seat up, you lose inches. That's probably about, if I'm gonna push this in, that's probably about 3/4 of an inch right there, 3/4 of an inch. Now that may not seem to be much, but when a rod is supposed to be a 7-foot rod, but you only get to use, 6 feet of it, because 12 to 14 inches is your butt, you're not really using a 7-foot rod. And so for me, as low as they can get it, almost down to where the kayakers like it, way down there. My son likes them way down there. That's why he likes those Dobbins rods, because that Dobbins Fury, the butt section is like 8 inches off the end of the butt is your reel seat. So, excuse me. So that said, I've caught, like I said, lots and lots of fish with this. Big crappie, big bass. My biggest bass on this rod is about 4 pounds, but I've caught a lot of 3-pounders, a lot of 3-pound crappie. And remember, bringing in the 3-pound crappie is not the same as bringing in a 3-pound bass, because you still can't horse a 3-pound crappie in. A 3-pound crappie still has a very thin mouth. So unless you get a hook set in the roof of the mouth, you're not going to get the kind of the kind of horsing opportunity that you would with a bass. So there are different reel techniques, or I should say, yeah, reeling techniques to bring that fish in. And I can say this one performs stellarly. Stellarly. Catfish. Catfish are just dogs when it comes to reeling them in. You can get tired before you can get a good catfish in. But this even handled the catfish really, really well. So I could appreciate that just the same. Sometimes, especially now in Clear Lake, you can just about catch catfish on all of your bass and crappie equipment because, you know, that they're just at that time in their season. I have this one outfitted with my fins, 215, 2-pound test diameter, 15-pound test break strength on the line, and it is, the leader is a 20-pound fluorocarbon leader, Berkeley for 100% fluorocarbon, and I think I got about maybe 3.5 feet of it there. And then of course I have my famous snap on the end, and it has not prevented me from catching fish. I don't skunk. And so this is the rig that I throw. Like I said, primarily I throw this. That's a car. This backfiring over there. I throw this primarily for throw tubes on here, but I use it as a backup in case I'm only going with 1 or 2 rods in a certain area, and I need something that can throw some good reaction baits. Here it is. One time I only went with this rod, and I had the nerve to throw crappie baits with it. I wasn't as successful with the lighter end crappie baits, but I caught some crappie because they're big crappie, 2.5 pounds, 3 pounds. So I caught a good number of crappie because of their size. So I was able to bump up to a 1/8 ounce, and that helped. The range of the lures on here is 1/4 ounce on the low end. So it was a bit of a challenge for me to dial it in, but sometimes I do that. And for the record, whenever I do my rod reviews, just know that I'm going to go outside the lower end of the specs. I don't almost never go outside the upper end of the specs. I've had people ask me, why would I throw, so for example, a 12-foot diving plug on this rod right here? Well, I would throw one because the range before it's considered deep cranking is 15 feet. 12 feet certainly is not considered deep cranking. And no person I know who does deep cranking says that, 12 feet is deep cranking. But 15 feet might be, and certainly beyond 15 feet, you're deep cranking. Now, if you're ledge fishing, 15 feet is not even really deep. You may have to go 20 or 25 feet. So for me, let me finish that thought. 20 or 25 feet before you are considering, that would be for you considered deep cranking. On the delta, where the average depth before you get out into the open brackish water, you're probably dealing with 30 feet. So, okay, if you want to say deep cranking is 12 feet, okay, then deep cranking for you would be 12 feet. People was going to laugh about it, but yeah. So I'm going to do those reviews, and when I do my guides, I will lay out for you the kind of lures that you should be looking for paired with these. And this particular rod, you will have a fun time with this rod. Now, what can it not do? What can this rod not do effectively? Again, for me, I didn't find throwing Texas rigs as effective for this rod as I would for some of my other rods, even for my X-Pride or even for my Poison Adrena. But if you wanted to throw tubes, Ned rigs, if you wanted to throw drop shots, if you wanted to throw aggressively, that is. And I'm not talking about, just, doing light finesse. If you want to put a 1/4 ounce or a 1/2 ounce or a 3/8 ounce jig head on here and put a crawbait, a plastic crawbait on it. Or if you wanted to throw a bass jig on here at a 3/8 ounce or a 1/2 ounce. Yes, this is it. This will be for you. But for some reason, throwing Texas rigs with worms that were longer than 7 inches, I couldn't get the technique all the way dialed in. I had to get another rod in order to do the job. And yes, I did the job. Carolina rigs. I didn't enjoy throwing Carolina rigs with this rod either. But there is ample other lures that you could throw with this particular rod and be extremely successful. And after 2 years, this rod is held out. You can find all kinds of sales for rods like this. This rod retails for $210. You can get this rod right now in at least 3 different places for about $160, and maybe even less than that in some other places. But I know in my head there are at least 3 places for it that you can get it for about $160. Just saying. So it's just a matter of figuring it out. So I say all that to say, if you're looking for this rod is good as a current model, and it'll even be better as a former model, because if I'm telling you guys, if they discount these rods out, I already got all of my pennies in my penny bag waiting to make these purchases. So I hope this has helped you out. I hope that you are building confidence in the fact that this rod right here is a great performing rod for a lot of work that you would want to do for bass, for crappie, for bluegill, for perch, for creek channels, for small sloughs or medium-sized sloughs. You can get into competitive bass fishing up to the regional level. Yeah, I would use this in a BFS competition, for example. I would use this in a regional competition, Wild Wild West bass tournament. Yes, I would use this and compete with the best in that. So take that into consideration when you are making this purchase. Okay? Thank you for tuning in, and remember, don't ever break your family's budget trying to buy all of this equipment. Please never do it. But by every ethical and legal means, get out there and break your personal best. I'll see you in the next episode. Take care and be blessed.